All right, 12:40 or 10 o'clock, Green Acres rezoning. Hey, ladies. These
Was there a
guys are
decision
friends of
made?
mine. Huh?
No decision made on that. We were in executive session, but no decision made.
Oh, I should say we didn't make any decisions in executive session. We discussed lifeguard pay and pay of employees down at the park.
All right, great. This is a public notice. This is a rezoning of case Z-533-22-1. It's the request of Christiane Mills and Jeannie Young, who do business as Green Acres Campground and Cabins. They are requesting classification from rural residential to B3, which is tourism district, on property legally described as surface 5.4 acres, Dunloop by survey plateau district. You guys should have a copy of their request. Basically, half of the property is already B3, the back half is RR, so they want to extend it, have all of it be B3, which is cabins and campgrounds. The planning commission did meet on Monday, and Mr. Willis made a motion to accept the rezoning, and it was seconded by Josh Davis, and it was a unanimous decision. So they are here if you have any questions. Amy has a map if you need to see it.
And I noted that one neighbor did appear in favor of the
Yes, they did have
of the rezoning as well.
So they were great neighbors. Not had any problem. And there's been no other neighbors.
Do any commissioners have any questions? or anything?
I don't have any questions. I want to say that I am friends with the ladies here casually, but I don't feel like I have a conflict because I would go with the recommendation of the planning commission.
John,
So
you got any questions?
No.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
all those in favor? Aye. Welcome back. They run the big Lebowski food truck.
Oh, okay.
I'm friends with your sister as well. You see her off the truck. So come on by anytime. Y'all know the family lady.
Good to see you.
Thank you,
Y'all have a good
guys.
day.
All right, thank you.
All right, so Allison, no, there's
That
not.
was just-
You know,
State.
Oh,
Oh.
okay.
in South Carolina,
They're talking about it.
no match. Okay, let's go ahead and get to the earmark for the trail infrastructure on Exhibit A.
Good morning.
Morning.
I put this request on the agenda and supplied Ruth and Amy some information, but merely we are asking I'm asking on behalf of the county commission to write an earmark and submit it to Senator Manchin's office so that we can get some of the recreational infrastructure funded that the Fayette Trail Coalition had put together and presented to you guys about 6 months ago. So there's no match requirement. We just wanted your sign off on it.
Okay, I move that we go ahead and approve to submit for earmark money for the trails that did include the county park.
A second.
And you wanted that to be priority two, the dilapidated housing is priority one.
Right, this would be priority two.
Correct.
Where dilapidated housing is our top priority for that particular earmark. Do you have a second?
I think I did.
He already
Second, okay,
Yeah.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Welcome. And going back to the lifeguard issue, I move that we approve paying for certification for the lifeguards and postponing the wage issue to the April 19th meeting.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I've done the same thing.
Okay. Have you guys had a chance to, with regard to the Region 4 list, have you guys had a chance to take a look at it and set some priorities? I know we prioritized some of these things in the past, I noticed that the Route 60 expansion is not on here.
Leslie's on the phone too.
And I don't know why it isn't on here, because that's among our top priorities. I know that you guys snuck in. Well, I understand that Anstead has to be upgraded. And after it's upgraded, then the visitor center project and the Route 60 project could then be completed. And I believe we prioritized them in that order. Anstead upgrade, then expansion to the visitor center, then expansion to 19 and Route 60. But I see the visitor center in here, but not the expansion to Route 60. And I don't see them in any priority order, certainly not the order that we established to the extent we evaluated all these projects some time ago.
She's there, but she's traveling. Hang on a second.
Okay.
Commissioner Taylor, this is Leslie from Region 4.
Hey, Leslie.
I apologize for the road noise. I'm traveling today. Those projects are not in any sort of priority order, and they are not being submitted on behalf of the county. They're being submitted on behalf of each individual entity. So each one of them, I'm just New Haven PSD. Well, no, I'm not gonna pick on New Haven because they've got 3 projects on that list. We'll pick on Canal Falls PSD. They have 1 project, so that's going to be their top priority for Canal Falls PSD. And so when you go through the ranking system of the earmark requests, they want to know what priority this is to the project sponsor. So if a project sponsor like New Haven PSD is submitting 3 projects, those 3 projects will have to be prioritized 1, 2, and 3.
We should do it because we prioritize one. I'm just guessing.
Also, I mean, realistically,
Each separate
except for New
entity has one priority.
Anstead.
Should be everyone is first priority should be granted at least, or have opportunity. I'm guessing, it makes sense to me, I believe, I halfway heard her.
No, I understand. I understand.
So they all, except for New Haven or.
New Haven and Anstead. Well, Anstead's its priority 1 has to be the sewage plant upgrade because it can't accommodate any other. How come the other one isn't, how come the Route 60 to 19 isn't included in here with Anstead's requests?
Did you speak with maybe Jenna from NRG RDA, Jenna Belcher? John Tuggle and I talked to her late last week, and she said she was going to reach out to you because we were unsure of who the applicant should be for that. While it would be an extension from the town of Anstead, a project of that magnitude would be maybe too much for the town to handle. Plus, that area infringes on New Haven PSD's service area. So Jenna was going to reach out and talk to you and see what you thought as far as an applicant, what we may do for an applicant. Would the county be interested in doing it? You know, if New Haven PSD is involved in that, then of course that would involve West Virginia American Water. So they would have to be on board as well. There were a lot of variables, and John is actually on vacation this week, but I don't believe he has talked with Jenna since our call either, because he's been pretty good to keep me up to date during his absence.
That project was presented to us by the mayor of Anstead, along with these other 2 projects.
And I agree with that. I agree with, the cost estimates that we received were on the town of Anstead. But when Jenna, John, and I talked, she expressed a little bit of concern over, would Anstead be able to handle those projects? Do they have the capacity? And that does infringe on New Haven PSD's territory.
So you're saying it'd be more beneficial for the county and all 3 of us to work together for whatever, how many entities, and present that in an earmark?
I believe so. I think that it would be more beneficial while we're sorting out the details for the county to be the applicant on that. And of course, we don't care to submit the project, but it would be beneficial for the county to be the applicant But because we have both the town of Anstead and the New Haven PSD involved, and either New Haven PSD can sign that territory or give the rights up to that territory to the town of Anstead, or we can figure out how to work that together.
I'm fine with that, but what I'm not fine with is that every presentation we've had about this implies that the engineering was done and that the town of Anstead could accommodate both expansions. So I want to know the answer to that. I mean, I think for the purposes of this, yes, we should go ahead and submit it on behalf of that group, but I definitely want to know the answers, because it's been my understanding that it's our, that this initial upgrade, the town of Anstead sewer upgrade, is supposed to be able to accommodate those two expansions.
And that may be why Fred Hypes of Dunn Engineers, who's the engineer for the town of Anstead, he sent us a narrative and a project cost for the wastewater treatment plant upgrade to be submitted in an earmark request, but not the extension. And Fred perhaps was more concerned with the wastewater treatment plant upgrade, because in order to be able to handle that expansion to the visitor center, of course, that wastewater treatment plant will need upgraded.
Well, that's for certain. I mean, that's what they told us, that these expansions can't take place until those upgrades take place. But here's another question I have. What time frame do we have to spend the earmark money? Because do we know that Anstead will be upgraded in time to even take on one or more expansions in the time frame we have to spend it?
Well, the staff from Senator Manchin's office put on a webinar last week, and of course, any funds that are given in the earmark will not be given until there is a new federal budget for next year, or for the next fiscal year. And of course, you're aware that the federal fiscal year starts in October. But only 3 times in the last 40 years have we had a federal budget that actually started on the date that it was supposed to. So
It usually starts by the first of the year, though.
Right. So if approved, these earmark requests won't be available until that budget is available. So you're looking at somewhere 18 to 24 months, maybe, before those funds would be available. And then they have to be spent within 12 months.
I see that.
Yeah, so I guess I'm asking if we're going to put that in.
The mayor just said something on that too.
What did he say?
Did you read it?
The mayor?
Yeah, Mayor Vanstead wrote something up there for us to see.
Did not see it. Hang on.
I think that it's good to go ahead and put the project in, because it has been talked about widely because of the national park designation. Senator Manchin's office is very interested in the project. The dollar amount of the project makes it a little bit difficult, but I do still think that we need to get it out there, and we need to get it out there to say, here's this project. You all are interested in it. How about help us find some money for it?
Well, and also, as I read this write-up here, there's a secondary plant incorporated into the Route 60 project, is what the mayor of Anstead was trying to tell us. But the way these are worded, it's not clear. I mean, it does say this project will upgrade the town of Anstead. This is under the visitor center blurb, pumping stations and sewer mains. But it doesn't show that these two projects are interrelated, and that one has to precede the other. Like it almost implies that the wastewater treatment to the visitor center includes all of the money we need for the treatment plant, and that we don't even need the separate town of Anstead sewer.
The original project did include upgrades to the wastewater treatment plant. But when Mr. Hypes sent the information that he sent for the wastewater treatment plant upgrade, and we'd be glad to provide you the email, he indicated that this was the project that the town wanted to submit for an earmark request, and it was just the wastewater treatment plant upgrade. The blurb on the email it came from the narrative that Mr. Hypes provided. And of course, he had a separate cost estimate for it.
Well, would you get some clarification then from Mr. Hypes about that? Because the way this reads here, I see the same project in 2 bullets. And
Now,
then
I will say when building the application, I've already built the application in Senator Manchin's system for the wastewater treatment plant upgrade, the $5.7 million project. So in the narrative, I did allude to the fact that this was a portion of a larger project and referenced it, and made myself a note to go back and change it in the event that for some reason the other one didn't get submitted. But I will reach out to Mr. Hypes and see if we can get some clarification on cost estimates, inclusion in the bigger project. We'll definitely do that. And of course, the earmarks are due by 11:59 p.m. on Sunday.
Well, I'd like to include that one and the other expansion, the Route 60 expansion that we were talking about, because given the timeline that you identified, if we were able to come up with a different source of money for the upgrade to the plant itself, by the time this money came around, we might be ready to start working on those expansions.
Well, we'll see clarification from Mr. Hypes on that, and see how he feels about, going forward and revising his cost estimates, but we'll definitely do that.
One more thing, you just mentioned the time that these earmarks have to be put in. What was that date again?
April 10th at 11:59 p.m.
So it'd be too late for the county and all of us to get together and try to submit something for the other part if we wanted to do that.
I don't think so, because it's already engineered and Leslie has the information. It's just not on.
Everybody getting together.
Well, I don't think we even need to get together. I think the answer is if we submit it, we are kind of an umbrella over all the entities potentially involved, the New Haven PSD. Am I right, Leslie?
Basically, if the award was made to the county, if the county applies and is awarded, basically it would work the same way as the CDBG grant works with Armstrong PSD. The funds would come to the county as the grant recipient, but the town of Anstead or New Haven or whoever it was would be the subrecipient.
So they wouldn't have to agree to this prior to us going ahead and submitting for it. That's my
Nope,
question.
they would not.
That was my only question.
Okay.
That's sure. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so what do you need from us right now? To a support letter and permission to go ahead and apply on our behalf for the Route 60 expansion?
Yes, if you will sign a support letter for it, and then also just vote to go ahead and do it. We'll get that application in today.
Well, they've got all the information.
They've already got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're just writing one.
They're right.
That's all we're.
Okay, so I move that we approve a support letter for Region 4's request for earmark money for the projects that presented to us from Senator Manchin.
A second.
All those in favor? Aye. And then I further move that we authorize and request Region 4 submit an additional earmark on behalf of Fayette County to accommodate the Route 60 expansion of the Anstead Sewer Project.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. There we got that.
Allison, can I ask a question?
Mhm.
Did Leslie say you needed to prioritize the New Haven water projects?
No, she said we need to prioritize. She didn't say, no, yes, the New Haven would need to prioritize its water projects, yes.
Second.
I can give you a little assistance, but you want to give some information.
We won't be the one setting the priority, New Haven would, so you might just want to reach out to Leslie and let her know if there's or you can tell her right now if you know what they are.
You know, Leslie, the Old Wind Road has to be done first before you can do the White Road. And then Lucas Road can be done Be the first or third. I'd say Old Glen Road, White Rose, and Lucas Road in that order.
Thanks,
Leslie,
Dave.
did you hear-
I did. We actually already had that information in the file. It had been talked about at some point. So we did prioritize them per prior communications.
Thank you.
And David, we got I got a call from White Oak PSD. You're no longer to speak for them unless someone's in here in the room with you.
What's all about?
Hmm?
So what's that about?
I'll tell you more about that.
Okay.
Okay, the 1015 EPA property access agreement.
And he is on the line. So this is just extending. He can probably explain it
We do
better.
it every
It's an
year.
access agreement for county-owned hazard mitigation properties in Mendon. They're still working on evaluating the extent of potential contamination from Schaefer equipment. So as part of that,
Yeah, last we heard, we were supposed to see some movement on that Superfund cleanup. Has there been any?
Yeah, I can actually go on. I can put my video on too. Hi, I'm Aaron Moran with EPA. Also with me is Alan McCurry from West Virginia DEP and my CIC. We've done a lot of sampling. We started in July and we collected a lot of soil samples, sediment, surface water, installed monitoring wells, collected the first round in December, and we got to collect 3 more quarterly rounds of groundwater sampling. And that's the reason we need the extension for the, we'd like to have the trailer there for a few more months to finish the remedial investigation work. We're starting to get the data we collected in 2021. All the data is consistent with what we've seen. So what we're now looking at is figuring out how to move this site forward. And we're going to be moving forward with an interim remedy for the actual capped area that was capped in, I think it was 2001. It's that former Schaefer equipment property where there was still PCBs in the ground and EPA worked with the Corps of Engineers to cap it. So we're going to be putting out a proposed plan with our preferred alternative to that, and I still need to write it, but the likelihood we're looking at is probably getting that out within a year, likely March of 2023. And that'll have, we're going to be looking at 3 alternatives of what we're going to do with that area. The 3 alternatives are take no action, which Circular requires us to do, fix it up and maintain that cap, or take it out. EPA will come up with a preferred alternative, but review it versus 9 criteria. In the last 2, number 8 is the state has to can concur, and then the public also has a say in it. So right now I'm looking forward, we're working to plan a public meeting to kind of go into much more in depth of what's going on, and just not only put out what we've done in the past, but also what we plan to do in the future is not just, 6 months, but I want to put out to, hey, what's going on a year from now, 2 years. So it's pretty much everything we've done in the past and everything we're going to do in the future is very much out and open and within the public's view. So we're looking to do a public meeting early May to kind of get into that and finalize some of these dates regarding schedules, what we think and what the data is saying.
What was the first of the 3 alternatives?
It's a no action. So what if you do nothing and you're required to have that in Circular? So
And the second was fix it, and the third was remove it.
kind of fix that cap. And then the other thing is just dig it, get rid of all the contamination of that capped area, and just send it to a landfill. So we will be in that document, it will go out for public comment with EPA's preferred alternative. That public comment period likely won't start till early 2023 right now. But as we get closer, we'll figure out if we can, we'll we'll be able to provide dates of that exact public comment period. And whatever public comments that we receive while that public comment period is open, we respond to, and when we come up with the final record of decision, we address all the comments we have received.
Will you involve us in that process when you engage the public, please?
Yes, I can. And if you'd like, we're planning a meeting within the town of Minden, but if you'd also like a public meeting to kind of give that same update, I think I can work with Lisa, and she's online too. We could probably do one here too, some other time in the future too, and we kind of do a longer presentation if you'd like that.
I think the commission can help facilitate that, and you'll reach more of the public if you go through us.
Yeah. Just so I know, I make sure I don't want to know my action item. You just want to know exactly when we're scheduling it, just saying, hey, this is when we're scheduling this meeting. This is when we're putting it out for public comment. These are the alternatives.
Yes.
Okay. I can do that.
Thank you very much for the update and for what you're doing out there.
So I move to approve.
Okay, so I have a motion to approve. I second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
We'll scan it and send it to you.
Thank you very much. If there's any other questions, just let me know and I'll answer any questions I can. If you need me to come up in person, I've been out there a bunch. Just let me know. We can do whatever you need. Thank you.
Do you want to do the,
We go ahead and do the park board things, we'll bring you a sample of the letter into the last year. For the budget, but they're doing those for the park board too.
okay, so park board regarding the fees for the memorial building. I was just asking Diane during the break.
I would just like to know that I do have 3 board members in the audience along with the park director.
Thank you for coming, guys. I was just asking her $50 an hour is enough, and will you give my colleagues the comparisons that you provided me?
I will. So the 2 comparable community centers that are rented in our area are the Lewis Center and the Midland Trail Community Center in Anstead. Both of those do not have a minimum hourly requirement, meaning someone could rent it for just one. The Lewis Center is $45 an hour for their gym floor. They have 2 small offices, meeting areas that are $35. And then use of the kitchen, meaning like the stove, would be $35. They have an additional $5 should you just want to use like the fridges or the counter space, no actual cooking. Midland Trail is $25 an hour, and they recognize that does not cover their expenses. However, they were concerned should they raise it anymore that their community would not be able to utilize it. For kitchen use, stove use again is $50 an hour. And so our proposal is a memorial building be at a $50 an hour rate for a minimum of 2 hours. So should anyone want to rent it for a private event or an event that charges an entry fee, we would make $100, even. Should they want to do for more than 2 hours, then obviously it would increase. We do have exclusions because we do want to still utilize that building for like free community events. Free activities, should a group want to go and just play basketball or play pickleball or have like a health event, like we don't want to, I guess, charge those who want to use the space for a public need.
Okay, so we have an AAU basketball program that rents the place every year.
Yes, sir.
I'm just John, I'm not sir.
Yes, John.
Okay. Do you propose to give it to them free?
We have a lead schedule of $2,000 an hour, or an hour. 2,000 for the lead. We really make some money for the lead. So this proposal that you have is just for hourly rates. Any like leagues for their season is not reflected on there, but we have discussed $2,000 for any league use.
And clean up, do they clean it up yourself and they rent it for the 2 hours?
That's my,
This is the first time we've really had a discussion with myself and my new board members,
The
so.
Lewis Center, I know
Yeah.
if I rented the Lewis Center, I would have to clean it up.
Yeah.
I would anticipate that would be our standard as well.
Okay, I just wanted to ask that, because that's a big deal when it comes to using, I mean, I just had to ask.
yeah, that was my second question of her was, what does it cost us to clean it?
And I recognize that probably $50 an hour is not gonna cover the expenses of the memorial building. But since this is the first time that we have a true rental rate, we've actually put in our proposal that we'd like to collect data for a year, our board, and to assess how much we raise, what type of rentals are coming in, and how much, I guess, people use the space on our exclusion for these free kind of activities. And base that on if the $50 is appropriate moving forward.
Wait a second. Well, I'm just gonna say, I mean, Ms. Taylor even thought about it too. I mean, could you request in this proposal that they clean up their set? Okay.
I was gonna ask you about that, but another thing that is important to me anyway, park board members, is that we find a way to make the memorial building profitable enough to maintain it. It is very expensive to maintain. It's very beloved. You guys were all present. I think, I don't know if PJ, you were there, but when they had the rollout for the new hotels that are going in and the condos that are going in over there in those schools. And I know that Charlie Wendell, when I mentioned the memorial building in my presentation, he approached me after and some of his staff about how they would like to talk to us about how we might do some things that would complement what they're doing. And I told them that we have recently reconstituted our park board, and I'm sure they would be happy to hear their ideas. So keep that in mind. And if any of you have connections to those folks, feel free to reach out to them and let them know that I mentioned it, and because they mentioned it to me, and that, you'd love to hear what they have to say. Because I told them we would be looking to you for recommendations on what to do. But ultimately, with the park and with the memorial building, our goal has been to make them profitable, at least enough to sustain them, so they can sustain themselves. Even if we have to invest some money to maybe put in RV pads at the park or anything like that, you just need to come up with some plans and bring it to us, and to give us a chance to consider it. Because even though we're always scraping for money, that might be worth scraping for if we'll have a big return on that investment, within short order. So keep that in mind as you guys meet and you come up with the things you want to do.
And I think with an established fee schedule that we are all in agreement of, we could actually see how often it's being rented. And I think that was another point, is that myself and the other members of our board, we don't know how often the memorial building is rented, or who uses it, or what purpose is being used. So, and again, we have a July 1st start date because we've been talking about this for a while. We are also open to that being effective as soon as you all would deem appropriate.
I was going to suggest and ask if there was any reason why we couldn't make it effective immediately.
There wasn't. We know that there have been talks throughout the community and throughout us about establishing the fee schedule, and nothing's just been finalized. So we were offering a buffer for the community to know that this is happening, moving forward. But we are open. I did not discuss that with them, but I believe they would support being open effective immediately.
I think the only issue is if we've already approved use for somebody, we would otherwise charge and have it. But otherwise, and I think they should be grandfathered, but anybody who applies henceforth this fee schedule should apply.
And we are also open to, I'm sorry, we're open to screening any applications. We would meet as often as we needed, or, converse electronically. Should someone think that they should have an exclusion or have questions. So we recognize that this is new and we will play our part in making it as streamlined as possible.
And it would help, as Anthony will tell you, to come up with some guidelines for what those exclusions are and be as specific as possible. So
I mean, we have 4 listed in what we sent you.
I see them, yeah.
And it's just emphasizing that they are free and open to the public and, youth activities, community events, private events, birthday parties, reunion, or those who want to make a profit, like hosting vendors, or if you charge an entry fee at the door. Those are the ones we would like to adhere to the fee schedule.
One thing to also keep in mind is that there's some land that we're looking at cutting timber off of. That's across the road that you guys will be taking care of too, after the timber's been removed. And I've always said that I would like to have tents available to go in there or any type of camping so that they could have a place to go to.
I think the camping idea is something the park is interested in. It's just the logistics of, I think, staffing and what that looks like, and then putting the money in if required to make it what it needs to be. But I think the general idea we are open to.
Well, and I think too, you need to take a look at the schools. If a government entity like the Board of Education or some other government entity wants to use it, we are a government entity paying for it. So, I mean, I think you guys should consider whether we should be reimbursed under what circumstance, depending on how much use there's there. They do. So
And that
apparently the
was
Board of
what
Ed
they-
does.
Again, we don't know who uses the building, so that wouldn't be knowledge that we would know before writing this about this proposal.
Who uses the building.
About not prior to writing this proposal.
Okay, he has a calendar, he keeps his probably on paper.
I mean, he's on all of our email correspondence and invited to all of our meetings, but no, we did not ask for a list of maybe in the past year who has used the building.
Will you, next time, if you have this on your next agenda or whatever that is, will you let us know so we can make sure Oki attends?
We meet next week.
Yeah, he did come to the first meeting that we had.
Did
He gave us as much information as he knew at that point in time. So
Right.
I think we've only had 3 because it's March. And he felt like there was a lot of information he didn't know also. He knows who shows up and who does it, but he didn't seem that he knew what the agreements were as far as payment for some of them, because I think it came through the courthouse before, or he didn't feel like he could share that with us. And so I'm not sure which way it goes, but I'll take care of that.
Can you see if we have like a year's worth of information? 6
Yeah,
months,
he
just to
keeps
give-
that calendar.
He does? Okay.
My only question is who's going to collect? Will it go through the park?
I don't know.
Who will collect the rental fees?
I think it should go through the park. That makes the most sense. Does that work for you, Wayne?
It does work for us, yes.
Okay.
Because we don't know who they're collecting.
We can only, other than 3 times. Okay, so before us is the schedule, to approve the schedule and its effective date. So I move that we approve it as presented, effective today.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
The one's the vintage clothing. The other one is that the.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. I just wanted to say I've been on this board 4 years and we've talked about this schedule since I was on there. And this is the first time the commission has taken a real interest and I appreciate it.
We're excited about the park. And Commissioner Luis is one of the, actually, you guys don't know, but one of the things that we've just passed through today about requesting earmarked funds for trails was for the trails through the park. And, yeah, Abby did a lot of work on that and we're submitting that for our earmark request. So hopefully we'll get some action. I definitely want to see more going on down there. There's a lot to offer and we're just not able to maximize it, but come to us with your ideas. I mean, come to us with ideas, get quotes, get estimates, even if we have to incrementally do things. We're open to that.
I think this was our biggest tackle. So now that this has been situated on all levels, we are open to exploring new things.
And the same thing with the memorial building, like, just think out of the box. We want them to sustain themselves. See ya.
You.
Last thing is the draft budget letter. We printed last year, so it's not gonna work. We're just going to read the letter for y'all to sign in like you.
Okay.
Okay. So we don't need
You
any.
can read last year's.
References to the pandemic and such.
Yeah, so we just need to redo it in general.
But all this is the letter that is a cover
It
letter.
goes
for the
as a
budget.
cover letter for the budget.
Don't we have to do this at today's meeting by statute? Yeah.
Lay the levies and like.
Oh, all right, then,
What's my number?
I move we postpone the budget letter to the 19th when we lay the levy.
Second,
All those in favor? Aye. Got a motion to adjourn?
second.
Oh, yeah.
Now.
It's just like, you didn't even